Right. Those of you who've been to my seminars before, we have seen this before. In my view, this is the best bit of marketing advice I could give to anyone. I'm often asked, what's the best bit of advice you can give? So just do this. Because if you work this out and work it out well, you can literally explode your business. But so few small businesses do it. Because we're busy. And marketing often gets put into the round to it category. A friend of mine who manufactures little wooden things, he actually made a round to it. And every time you heard it, he'd give them one of these little round to it. So there you go, there's a round to it. I thought that was quite clever. It was a good marketing tool for him as well, because he had his contact details on it. So, yeah, very, very clever guy. So, do some marketing every day. So, how to increase your sales by 33.1%. You've all got calculators on your phones. You may need them in a bit. Because I'm going to show you how this calculates out to 33.1%. With only doing a little bit more work. So, and I will cover this, and I'll go through why I mean only a little bit more work. Because a lot of people seem to think, I've got to increase sales by 33.1%, I need to get a third more customers. Not so, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, step number 1, 10% more customers. So you've got 10 customers, you need to make that 11. How hard is that? Now if you've got no customers, obviously that's a huge increase. But 10% more customers. Now, you're thinking, how on earth do we get 10% more customers? Well, here's just a little list of some of the things you can do. And that is by no means exhaustive. Okay? So, there's absolutely loads on there. This is where I started. Door knocking. And shockingly, I was at home yesterday and some estate agents knocked on the door and asked if I was interested in a evaluation of the house that I was living in. I said, no, I'm just a temporary resident. But they gave me chocolate and a pen. Well, I'll take that as a win. But it still works, and that's why people still do it. Who's ever had Elder Smith and Elder Jones knocking up on the door? Right? It still works, believe it or not. If you ever get Mormons knocking on the door, you just need to say, oh, have you seen that play, The Book of Mormon? Oh, you guys should really see that. It's really funny. It's about this gay guy. And then instantly they start backing off. Any Mormons in the room? Too late. Me and my big man. Okay, but there's absolutely loads here. And I've always said you should never be short of ideas. The hardest part is making these ideas applicable to what you're trying to say, who you're trying to say it to, and how you're going to get that across. And that is the essence of marketing. Your audience, your broadcast, your post, and the channels that you use. Okay, so we're not going to cover that specifically today, but I say to people, I don't know what to do, I can't find anything to do. It's like, seriously? Sure, we can work out a few of these and make them work for you. Okay. Now, not all of these will work for all businesses, and that's what we have to understand. You need to make sure that the channels you're using to reach your target market are the ones that reach your target market, not just the ones that everybody thinks you should do. And a good example, I was with a financial advisor a few weeks back, and he said I should be all over TikTok. Because he's on TikTok, and he's getting great traction from it. But he sells business to consumer. I sell business to business. It's a whole different kettle of fish. I said, you might get great traction out of making your videos of owning on TikTok. To me, I would have to have a strategy dedicated to lead generation just for TikTok, and it would take a humongous amount of time when there are more effective online channels like LinkedIn, which are a more direct route to my target market, which is small businesses. So whilst it may work, it's not going to be a very direct route to my target audience. Make sense? So you could probably discount 2/3 of those for your business in some way, shape, or form, easily. Okay, dokes. So how do we get 10% more customers? We're just going out and start talking to people. I'm working with an accountant and an insurance broker at the moment, and we're looking at referral strategies. Referrals are the low-hanging fruit, but so few people ask. And they're free. So I did a seminar a while back. Who was here for the referrals one? I'm not sure. I think you were here. There's loads of ways of getting referrals, but it's low-hanging fruit. Who do you know? Have you got a friend that we could email? We were talking with Graham, who was here last time, yesterday, about getting the people he does business with to tell us who do you know on the street who I could go knock on the door and just give them my card. Simple as that. Okay. Not complicated. So 10% more customers. Step 2. This is where it becomes really, really interesting. Because this is working with existing customers. Increase average order value. Now, who's bought anything from Mighty? Yeah? Is anybody going to confess to having bought anything from the mercenary organisation called Amazon? What about McDonald's? Okay. When McDonald's started asking, would you like to go large with that? They increased their sales by 30% and their net profit by 17% overnight. How many more new customers did they get? None. They just said, do you want to go large with that? A few extra fries, a bigger soda. Okay. Cost them nearly nothing to do, but sales went through the roof. Their sales worldwide increased by 30%. Nearly a third, just by asking a simple question at the checkout. It's one of the reasons why when you go to a supermarket, they're all chewing gum and sweeties right next to the checkout. Because they want you to, oh yeah, that'd be nice. Our feeling package, there goes a peanuts flat. Or whatever. They just want you to add that extra little percent. Just because it's there, it's convenient. So, big retailers, almost all of them have, you might also like. And they add something in. What they're trying to do is to bump up the order value by adding a complementary product. So, but this is entirely up to how your business. Okay? People who bought this also bought. Loads of people love to be part of the game. They love to feel like they're part of something. They like to feel like they're a member. I'm included. We're all talking about inclusivity, and the retailers know it. Now, the reason why they do this is because it works. The likes of Amazon and Mighty Ape, they analyse the statistics on this to the nth degree. And they know it works. Okay? Buy 3 and get the 4th one free. Now, that only works if you're doing retail and you've got a bulk deal on being able to offer the 4th one. Okay? So if we ship more of these, you get a better price. So technically, you're actually making a little bit more money rather than losing by giving out something away for free. But that's an arrangement between retailer and wholesaler or supplier. Premium products, I'm about to come on to that, and increase your prices. When I had I mentioned this last month, when I had the web design business, one of the first things I did when I started properly getting into grips with this was double my prices. We were charging £500, $1,000 for a website. It was too blinking cheap. I would have earned more money with the hours that I worked working at McDonald's. Okay? So, we doubled the prices. You think, it's an instant way of doubling your sales. Not so. Because obviously fewer people bought from us. But the cool thing was, we got rid of a lot of crap clients who didn't value what we were doing. So we started picking up better clients. So, the big saying I've never forgotten is if you double your prices and lose half your clients, what have you really lost? You're doing half the work for the same money. Now, I'm not suggesting double your prices. Okay, for some people that would just be commercial suicide. Well, what's wrong with upping your prices by 2 or 3% to all new customers? Did I mention the hypnotherapist last time? I want to tell you a story. Get comfy. Gosh, it must have been 15 years ago. I was belonged to a networking group, and this woman who was a hypnotherapist, she said, can we have a chat? So we had a chat after the networking group. She said, well, I'm working flat out. I don't seem to be making any money. I said, okay, what are you charging for an appointment? And she said, I'm charging £30 for, it was £30 for a 90-minute appointment. So that is bargain basement prices. So no wonder you're working flat out and not making any money. Increase your fees by 10% to all new customers. She's like, okay. And we'll chat again in another couple of weeks' time. And so we chatted again, and she, by then I'd actually spoken to her on the phone. Yeah, okay, I can help you. Okay, this is what it's going to cost you, and she was happy with that. And I said, if it doesn't work, or I can't, you're not getting any value, then don't pay. So she was happy with that. So the following month, a few weeks later, we got together. So, right, how's it going with the new pricing? And she said, well, no one's complaining. I said, brilliant. All new customers, that needs to be £37 a time. She said, okay. So she started, all new customers were £37 a time. A few weeks later, how's it going? No one's complaining. Brilliant. That needs to be 43 now. And she started getting a little twitchy. I said, well, what's wrong with 43? She said, well, most folks charge about 40. And I said, that's brilliant. Leave them to it. So where do most of your customers come from? She said, recommendations. I said, so you're doing something right. Because people are talking about it. So make it 43. If it doesn't work, we can do something with it. So 43, another few weeks later, how's it going at 43? Oh, no one's complained. So great. We've increased your income, your sales, by 30%, more than 30%. No one's complaining. It needs to go to 47 now. She really started getting nervous. She said, well, that's, more expensive than most. And I said, I don't care about most. Do your thing and do it well. We carried this on over the space of about 6 months. She went to £65 per session, more than double what she was selling. She was working only 20% less, but she had a bloody load of money in the bank. Pricing objection was between her ears. What she realised was there's the value of what she does to some people is immense. It's worth £65 a session. Now, I've had hypnotherapy. I paid 3 sessions and it was about £65, and it was worth every blinking penny. If it had been £90, it probably would have been. In fact, certainly would have been not worth every penny, because it's the value of what you get out of it, and that's what you sell. So increasing your prices can be done. Do it incrementally, if that's the way you want to go. Okay? But you should definitely be reviewing prices regularly anyway. Definitely. I mean regularly, twice a year, if not more regularly. Right? Okay. What I'd like to do is spend a minute or call it about 2 minutes. Just have a think about what you could introduce here. Premium products and upgrades I'm going to cover in a moment, so ignore that. But can you do something with the rest of it? Have a think. You are allowed to talk.
And recording with that, there's an urban myth been around for decades about Procter & Gamble. The guy who approached the chairman and said, I can double your sales.
I know the story, yeah, it's a good one.
I can double your sales almost overnight.
That's a toothpaste company.
Not toothpaste,
no.
It's called shampoo.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Close. He said, right
I
in
can
the
see how
chair,
you
$500,000, I'll give you the answer. She goes, hummed and hard. Okay, wrote a check, put it into an envelope. The guy wrote the answer down, put it into the envelope, swapped envelopes. Opened it up, and said, on every label, put rinse and repeat. Double sales. Now, everyone does the same thing. Every bottle of shampoo has rinse and repeat.
Well, there's another story with Colgate. Guy through his lawyers approached Colgate, so I've got a way of increasing your sales by 10%, sales of toothpaste by 10% with no additional spending. And they did pretty much the same thing. They agreed a fee, he paid the fee, and he said, just make the openings of the tube 10% wider. And they paid it because it worked. Because people were suddenly using 10% more than 10% more toothpaste. For no extra work. They just had to make the manufacturing process that tiny little bit different. People use more toothpaste, sold more toothpaste. It's sometimes the simplest stuff can work. Right, okay. Have a quick brainstorm. Is there something you can do around any one of these? You don't have to tell me, you can literally make notes on your pad.
I've been thinking about doing it buy 3 get the full-time free payment, but it involves $3,000 of work on the website coding. So it's
Okay.
so it's money,
I mean, one of the things, Darren's kind of got an advantage because he's got a cafe in the climbing centre as well. So people will come, they'll do climbing, they'll often buy cups of coffees and snacks and bits and pieces. So there was opportunity there to do something with that, just to bump up sale value or the actual spend whilst in the climbing centre. So
I mentioned I've through this process the last 2 weeks, but my readers went up. So I just put the chocolate bars up, just put the coffees up, and I've just gone through. I want to put my casual walk-in price up, or I've looked at the group price and think, you know what, that's actually too cheap, so we'll put all of our group pricing up. So it's because that still works out less per person than what you do on a casual walk-in.
Yep.
And it was something that we could do without fixing too much, but I need to generate a lot more income quickly. My biggest hit double what I was planning on getting, hoping. So I've actually literally just done it this week.
And it all
We've
happens.
got to change the website, by the way.
Email it over, what you need to. Again, it can be quite simple, and it should be reviewed on a regular basis. And if you can nudge your prices up by a few percent and it has zero impact on business, then you've done the right thing. And this is again, have you got something else you can bundle on with what? I mean, Brendan's got some fantastic upsells. What he does is a whole range of services. So it's that getting people to think you might also like it, or this would really be useful to you. Also, while you're here, can I recommend this? Would you like to go large with that? And it's not as complex as you think once you actually start to think about it. So it's something we've been discussing with Angela about adding a premium service on top. So for actually it's early days. All right. Since the blur of activity I was hoping for didn't quite happen, let's move on. When I had the website design business, one of the things that we introduced was upgrade. Would you like to go large with that? I'm going to let you into some psychological secrets. Well, no secrets. If you did the research, it's out there. We went from a flat price per website to introducing packages, but we labelled them slightly differently. So we had, I probably should be able to read most of that, most of you. We had 3 packages, which was the basic business website. We had then the standard business website, and then we had the whole shebang web marketing pro package. Guess which one we wanted our customers to buy?
Number 2.
Number 2. Why? How would you have known that?
Because it's the most popular.
Right, come back to what I said earlier. People who bought this also bought that. And we just packaged it as most popular. To be honest, this gave them, and I'll come to it in a minute, the best value for money, but it was the one that gave us the most return on the work involved. So they got all of that, plus that, and it was labelled as most popular, because I said people like to feel as though they are part of the crowd. There aren't many people like me who have no objection to standing out. Okay. Now, why do you think that might have worked? You tell me.
People need social affirmation before they make a decision.
Social validation, yeah. That's a good point. That's the best way of describing it. If this is the most popular, it must be the right one to do. Okay? And here's how we framed the pricing. What did we want them to do? Now, if you notice the difference in price is about a third. Okay? But I wanted as many people as possible to go on the 6-month payment plan because it was the best value. It actually cost them no more at all. It was just that divided by 6. But what made the big one, what was it? I don't remember. But we were able to steer 60% of our customers to that with no effort at all. So, first of all, they upgraded because they wanted social validation. You know, this is the most popular package. Okay, they want to feel like they're part of the crowd. They want to feel like, oh, well, if it's the most popular, it must be good, type thing, the social validation.
So you sold none of the basic ones?
We probably sold, there was about 60%, I think when I worked it out, it was something like 63% were sold the middle one. Something like 25% bought the basic, and then a few people bought the whole shebang web marketing pro package. And with what they got for it was a lot of done-for-you marketing stuff. So we had an ongoing, they've got a marketing review after 6 months. We had several months worth of ongoing SEO on the website, promotion on the website. They got coaching, etc. So there was a lot to it. How much extra work was involved in building the website? None. Pretty much we would have built them the same website had they bought the basic. But we just added some more services. Thankfully, a lot of those services we could contract out to people in the Philippines or places like that, where it didn't actually cost us a great deal to do, but we didn't have to spend the time doing it. So it just worked, but the best value for the client, really, and the best value for us was this middle one. And it's just those little psychological levers that are actually they're not difficult to do when you start thinking about it. But when you start framing it like this, the psychological benefit, or the psychological nudging, for want of a better word, is immense. 60% of our customers bought that.
What's your feeling on having or not having pricing on your website?
The only way to know is to test it. We never had this because we tried to I always did my best to make all clients feel like their project was unique. Whereas if you've ever built a website, there's little unique in building websites because there's thousands of web designers and millions of websites. Okay, so there's very little unique out there. And the process of building a website is the same whether it's a small brochure website or a comprehensive website with loads of content. The process is the same, there's just more of the same work. Okay, so it didn't matter from our point of view, but pricing on a website is an interesting one because if you're in a price competitive market, you run the risk of somebody undercutting you. So you need to make sure that you're presenting great, immense value for what people pay on your website. I've never done it, except with the Auckland Business Builders Club, because it's quite straightforward. It's $147 a month. Take it or leave it. But with this, we never did it. But, especially with what you do, this would be quite easy. Can you offer an upgrade, which is pitched as incredible value for money? You get all of this and this if you buy the extra fries and soda package for an X amount more money.
Right? Carl, can I just make an observation? I've noticed whenever something is a large ticket item, it generally doesn't have the price unless you're somebody like Container Door and it's to your advantage to show that you're 40% cheaper than Harvey Norman or whoever. So that and this is my perception, is you look at something and you think, right, that's going to be expensive because I don't mention the price. How bad do I want it? Do I click the next stage or not? Yeah, but the other observation is if you have an email, if you're on an email list and somebody emails you a deal and you click on the link, then there's an endless sales page. And I always scroll directly to the bottom just to see how much it is first. So I don't know whether that works or not, but if you're engaged enough and you can see the value and you do read that lengthy sales letter. So, I mean, my observation from life is that if you're, unless you are a bottom feeder or unless you have a reason that you want to serve as many people as you can for a realistic price, you put your price up there because that becomes, take for example, Business Builders Club. You want to serve as many people as you possibly can because that's what drives you, is to help small business. You understand that small business people don't necessarily have, $15,000 to build a website or whatever it is. But I mean, I don't know whether what I've observed is the correct way to do it. Whether there's any changes, what would you say about that? Whether that is changing, because everything's changing at the moment.
Long form sales copy still works, but you have to have a very engaged audience. Your sales process has to be incredibly well oiled. The only way you make it well oiled is trying it out. But like you, I often skim to the bottom to take a look at the price. If you are going to do, I don't know if you know about long form sales copy, but effectively it's a long page with various chapters about why it's good and where it's come from, etc., and the value that you're going to get. I tried that in the web design business and ended up having to literally put out big bold titles with the benefits in them. So people, if they wanted to, they just could skim the benefits without reading the detail. And that's effective. That's the most effective way of doing it. But again, it just depends on whether you want to add the price onto your website. And there's nothing wrong with it either way. It's just what works for you. You know, with what you do, Ella, you know, there's nothing to stop you from making every single client think what you're trying to do to them is totally special and it's a package designed just for them. But you know very well that putting together a branding exercise for any client is going to be quite similar to the ones you've done before. You know the process, you know the work that's involved. You don't want them to think that this is just another package. You want to think that this is unique to you. It's all about you. And that's not, and again, it's quite easy to do with a service like graphic design and branding. And then it's not that much of a stretch to get to something like this. Offer a premium service. So if you go to somewhere like Fiverr.com, and I use Fiverr.com for lots of little bits and pieces, they'll often have an upgrade. Get 24-hour turnaround for an extra 50%. Okay, it's just another way of doing something like this. Super fast delivery. They're asking for more money. Okay, that's another great way of doing it, particularly with services, because the work is exactly the same. You just got to do it a bit sooner, but you're going to get paid more for it. Okay? It's like an emergency dentist is going to literally charge you a ton of money, not because the process is any different. Had you waited until Monday morning, it's just that it's out of hours. It's a special service. The work isn't the amount of work involved is about exactly the same. Right? So have a think. Can you offer? I mean, it's like trying to get a plumber to 2:30 on a Sunday morning. You know you're going to have to shell out some dollars. Not because the work that they're going to do is going to be any different had you waited until Monday, but it's the weekend, it's a Sunday night. That's just the way it is. So again, there are ways of doing this. This is one of the easiest ways of increasing your average sale value, just by offering upgrades. You know, making more of an effort to sell over-the-counter stuff. Okay, so
it comes down to how you present it as well. If you go back to the gold, silver, bronze,
yep.
One structure, tips and crosses. So it's here's the basic package, here's the done with you, here's the done for you. Trying to move up scale to that white glove, personalised service, and only one has got all the green ticks.
So my business partner in Christchurch, she's offering a lot more done-for-you stuff, and it's not cheap. But she knows that a lot of busy business people, especially if they're turning over a business with $1 million plus, can afford to pay $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 to have all this just taken care of, because they don't want to do it. Nobody in the business really knows how to do it, so she's going to just take care of it all for them and then just teach them how to make it work. And that's become their model. And it does work. So there are loads of ways of approaching this, but what can you do just to add, would you like this or would you like the express service? Would you like this one or would you like the gold package? Gold, silver, bronze, silver, gold, I never quite been a fan of. I've always been a fan of having a bit of fun. The whole shebang, Web Marketing Pro Pack. Yeah, we did sell a few of those. Interestingly enough, over half the people who bought that package were people who quite frankly didn't want to do anything. So they didn't even want to do their part in the process. Because they just wanted it all taken care of.
So does that mean you got extra business on top of that? Because you did
crazy as it sounds. I might have almost said, yeah, we want them to do this because I know that well over half of them are just not going to say, oh, for goodness sake, just take care of it. I'll be charging. So, but yeah, this what I found to be a great way of doing it. The eyes instantly go to that best value. And that's a great way. So if you want someone to do something, highlight it. If you want it to be your preferred call to action, make sure they know. On our website, you see right at the top the buzzwords, and there's the phone number. We didn't want people to send us an email. We didn't want to fill in a form. We wanted them to give us a call. And the reason why is because fewer than 1 in 10 who filled in the form on our website became customers. But approximately between 30 and 35% of people who gave us a call became a customer. Why? Because it's proactive activity. If they're just filling in a form, they're kicking tires most of the time. And I don't want to spend time with tire kickers. It can be difficult sometimes to sift them out, but I found that an incredibly efficient way of doing it. So even if they emailed us or sent me the forms, I always try to get the appointment, even just to sit down with them and talk about what they wanted. If they didn't want an appointment, I know they weren't serious. In most cases. So, okay, moving on. Now, increased sale frequency by 10%. Who gets emails from Mighty Ape every day? Just me. Right? You buy from any of the big retailers, they're emailing you just about every day. Why? Because it works. And not only that, email marketing is dirt flipping cheap. And I mentioned this in our networking group yesterday. Email marketing has the highest ROI of almost any marketing activity. You get a MailChimp account if you've got a small database for free, and even then, when you have to start paying for it, it's like $10, $15. It's nominal money. And you can send something out as often as you want. Interestingly enough, most people don't object to getting emails from you, even if they are salesy on a periodic basis, as long as you're not stuffing their inbox. Okay. So I unsubscribe. I regularly have to unsubscribe from stuff. But I don't mind getting the Daily Mighty 8 because I do buy from them. I've unsubscribed from Amazon because they are a merciless tax dodging organisation. I'm a big fan. But I don't mind getting emails from GrabOne because occasionally they do send out some good stuff. For the most part, I do. Also buy stuff from Book Depository in the UK. They send out several emails a week, and a few other retailers too. So, and I don't mind that. Here's an interesting thing about email marketing. Since I've been here in Auckland, I've probably handed out 300 business cards at networking events I did too. How many emailing lists do you think I'm on as a result of handing those out? Well, fewer than 5. Yeah. Even the marketing companies.
Is that a thing? As soon as you give me your business card, I can put you on them.
And the reason why, okay, the data protection, it's all about private data. If I give you my business card, is that private? Is that private?
No, but how far is that removed from me trawling through the internet and finding all the email addresses I want to stick in my mind?
Well, in theory, you could, but I don't recommend it. But if somebody gives you a business card at a networking event, and you add them to your email list, they cannot complain that you've abused their data, simply because they willingly gave you their private data. Yeah, they willingly give. Typically, data protection officers take a very relaxed view about business-to-business information. How about this? I said, right, Ellie, you've given me your business card, but because of the Privacy Act, I'm not going to give you a call because I know you don't want to be disturbed.
There's a difference between a phone call and a daily spam email.
We're not going to send out daily spam emails. We're not Mighty Ape.
Some people do.
Some people do, and I agree.
Some people do, but every email by law has to have a subscribe. So you get pissed off. You just go unsubscribe.
So you're all in my database.
No kidding.
But I'm not stuffing your inbox 3-4 times a week. It's just one, and what I always try and be is useful and helpful. And I promote the events, etc. So it's a case of being pragmatic and being sensible with the data. If you're going to abuse the data and shove spam down people's throats all the time, well, you deserve to get fined. I've got no trouble with that whatsoever. But I also know that if you are being useful and helpful, and you're helping people with ideas and recommendations, suggestions, etc., then I've got no objection to being on a database. But like I said, all the several hundred business cards I've handed out, I'm on so few databases, it's frightening. Even the marketing companies don't seem to want to do this. In fact, in my experience, most marketing companies marketing in here in Auckland is crap. Ironically. So it's crazy. So there's a lot you can do. So more frequent spend, you can have promotions. Okay, just to drive up spend. More frequency of spend. Stock clearances are often good. I know that Darren runs events here and there. Got to go and see his Lego collection. Deadline-driven campaigns. You know, when it's gone, when the deadline's gone, etc. Subscriptions are amazing. My business is a partial subscription business. We're all part of the subscription industry. If you have a mortgage, it's a subscription. If you've got Netflix, Amazon Prime, mobile phone, all subscription. Okay, most people buy their car on subscription. Legally, it's not yours until it's paid off. It's a subscription service. So, and there's a lot of business types that can have a subscription. And more frequent marketing. And this is the interesting thing. Comes back to doing some marketing every day. But doing as much marketing to your existing customers as trying to reach new ones. It's a hell of a lot easier selling to existing customers as it is to ones who have no idea who you are or know who you are but haven't bought from you before. Okay? So more frequent marketing. And this is why email is so blinking great, because you are reaching people. And something like, I think it's about 65% of the world has an active email address. Nearly everybody with a job has an email address. In fact, pretty much everyone who has a business has an email address. Now, if you're sending stuff out on a regular basis, I'm not talking daily, but weekly, fortnightly, you get to choose. But you're being useful, informative, handy, chatty, not trying to bombard them with sales messages. Buy my stuff! I don't even respond to that. Then it will work. A friend of mine, Marie, is a tax consultant. She is one of the top 20 brains in the UK for the British equivalent of GST. Really exciting, sexy subject. Right? But she'd send an email out once a month. Now, a lot of her customers were clients who needed subcontract advice on specialist areas of VAT, value-added tax, or GST, yeah. And I said, it's not frequent enough. He said, why? And I said, because the following week they've already forgotten about who you are. So I said, well, I don't want to pester them. I said, you're only in touch 12 bloody times a month. How the hell does that work? 12 times a year, for example. I said, right, okay. So she started sending her stuff out every 3 weeks, and then I nudged her some more to send them out every fortnight. Guess what happened? Anyone? More people responded. She picked up more work. Who'd have thought? It took me nearly 2 years to convince her that fortnightly was good. And it wasn't stuffing people's inboxes. It wasn't pestering people and spamming people. Linking that to accountants, what can you do? But it can be that simple. You know, it could be as simple as putting something out onto Facebook if you've got a reasonable following and just boosting that post out to your followers, your existing customers, those who already know who you are, and saying, hey, I've got this promotion on. More frequent spend.
Can I ask a question, Carl?
No.
I'm going to ask a question, Carl. You say do a little bit of marketing every day, so assuming that's 5 days a week. How much time is that little bit of marketing every day going to take? And commensurate to that, how effective can you be in that given amount of time that you allocate?
Okay, that's a good question. Anyone else?
Well, if you pick a number, say 20 minutes, for example.
In theory, you can do marketing in 20 minutes a day. So I probably spend, because I do a fair bit, I spend no more than 3 hours a week on marketing. That does not include events and networking. Okay, you could consider going to a networking event as a day of marketing. Okay, next step would be to make sure that everybody whose card you've got goes into your email list and that you've at least connected with them on LinkedIn as well. That's marketing. Hey, maybe you're X networking event. Great to meet you. Can we connect on LinkedIn? Maybe at some point we can grab a coffee. Okay? So that's the networking, proactive approach. Right? That's a marketing activity. Segmenting your database and getting it ready for a campaign is a marketing activity. Putting stuff out onto social media is a marketing activity. I schedule all of my social media on a Thursday morning. It takes me about half an hour, and that's it done for the week. And then all I've got to do is once a day for a couple of minutes is just check it. Okay? But I just don't want to go. I don't want to be thinking every day, what the heck am I going to put onto social media? That's just do all of it all in one lump. Now, and I know I've explained this before. If you're putting regular stuff out into your website, like blog posts, that resonates for emails that can go out. I think we did this already the other day. That also can be used for social media content. You only created one content item and you're putting it around all over the place. You're just repurposing it. I create videos, that gets put out across all social media. That video eventually gets transcribed and made into a blog post. That gets pumped out onto social media. That blog post eventually gets put out onto an email to my list. How much content have I created?
You've done it once.
Once. And this is where having a plan comes into play. If you're doing haphazard marketing, you tend to get haphazard results. But if it's planned a little better, say, right, Thursday morning we're going to decide what we're going to put out on social media, even if it's only putting something out every other day, doesn't really matter, as long as it's consistent. Right, that's the social media done. Can we send an email out this week? And what have we got on the blog that's useful or helpful to our target audience? Have we got a promotion we can send out? Have we got an event coming up? Can we let people know about this? Once you switch on with this, there's never nothing to do. And that's the good thing about it, but it does depend on having a system. And most businesses' marketing fails because it's inconsistent, because it's not systemized. I don't know who thought that was. So it's just pretty much anything. You think you know enough about business to know that if there's no process, you're flying by the seat of your pants. If your chances of success are low, or your chances of even staying in business, let alone success, are low, because it's constant firefighting. The more systemized you are, the better off you are. Technically, you could do marketing as little as 20 minutes a day, but if it's setting up right, you need to know what you do and how it's done. So, I know that sounds as quite a high level, but it's true. I've seen it done. You know, I went to Boy Cafe, had a chat with somebody 2 weeks ago, who is just setting up a different service in her business. And I literally walked her through a class, right, this will take you 2 minutes a day, approximately an hour a week, if you set it up and do it right. And she was gobsmacked how straightforward it can be. I said, you don't need to spend a ton of money, you just need to start working with existing customers, asking for referrals, sending out more emails, putting out more content, splitting that content out into social media. And then every now and then spending a little bit of money on an ad, bunging that social media out to a target audience. And it's only that simple. So, now, would that take about 2 minutes to explain the marketing system? Okay. So how does it stack up? 10% more customers times 10% more average sale value times average sale value frequency of 10% more adds up to 33.1%. Is there anybody who can do the numbers who wants to check it? It's effectively 1.1 times 1.1 times 1.1. Okay. So here's an example. 250 customers, $200 sale value, twice a year, adds up to $100,000 in sales. Right? Fairly logical, simple maths. However, you add 10% across the board, 275 customers, 220 sale value, 2.2 average sale frequency, and that goes to 33.1%. But here's the cruncher. How many more customers have we had to win?
Not many.
Not many. All we've done is work on tweaking what we've got to get people buying that little bit more and that little bit more often. Can you see how this is doable and how it's actually more straightforward than you think? It doesn't involve a massive amount of work. I mean, you could offer, express mortgage service. That's if you could do it. So, and are you doing any more work? No, you just have to do it a little bit quicker. To harass the lenders a little bit more. So I need this in a hurry. And your clients will think, wow, this guy's good. And they'll pay for it. Some. Most of them, it doesn't matter. But if the offer's not in front of them, they'll never buy it. And that's the thing. If I never put my upgrades on my quotes, how many would I have sold? None. You don't ask, you ain't going to get it. But if you use the psychology right, best value, most popular, then you can get an awful lot more out of it. Does that make sense? Can you see how, have you already started to get some thoughts on how you can make this happen a little more in your business? Okay. I mean, in theory, you could say, right, do a group package. Do you want coaching on climbing for an extra X? Or do you just want to go climbing? So that's a group where we'll dedicate a coach to you and your little team, etc., and it will cost you a little bit more, but they'll teach you how to climb more effectively and how to make it a lot more fun. How hard would it be? And it's just that. The staff are there anyway. So that's just an idea.
we have done that in the past.
Yeah.
It didn't really take off with the birthday page, but I'm thinking that's what we should be taking for small groups more.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, sitting there thinking that right here.
There you go. And again, best marketing advice you'll ever hear. And here's the thing, Jim Rohn died a few years ago now. The things to change, you have to change. Nothing gets better unless you make it so. Spike Milligan, that great British comedian, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. It just doesn't work that way. All right. And I ain't going to do the voice for those who can remember. No. All right. Just before, what is Auckland Business Builders? It's a membership group aiming to get you towards a marketing system of your own. Costs us $147 a month with no tie-ins. And you get a couple of sessions a month to help guide, steer, mentor you into making your marketing work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.